Zanil had been saving for years, putting away a little bit of money each month from her job in Nairobi. She wasn't one to spend much on herself. Most of her salary went to helping at home, paying bills when her parents fell short, or covering small emergencies that always seemed to appear. But quietly, in a separate account, she had been building something that mattered only to her, the dream of owning her first car. For her, it wasn't just about transport. A car meant freedom. No more waiting for unreliable Mercedes or begging for it meant she could move on her own time, make her own choices, and live with a dignity she had long felt denied. Zanil had always been the responsible one, the one who kept things together while her younger brother, Themba, was treated like the star of the family. Even as adults, it was Themba who got the attention, the praise, the excuses. Zanil was expected to understand, to sacrifice, to wait. So when the day finally came, when she held the keys to her small but shiny used car, it was more than just a purchase. It was proof that she could carve out something for herself. She washed it with her own hands, took photos from every angle, and drove slowly through the streets of Nairobi with the windows down, her heart racing with pride. She couldn't stop smiling. For once she felt seen, not by her family but by herself. She had finally arrived. The week after Zanil bought her car, she was still floating on the joy of it. Every morning she walked out with a little extra spring in her step, unlocking the door and sliding into the driver's seat like she was finally stepping into her own light. That Wednesday was no different. She drove to work humming to herself, parked carefully, and promised she'd stop by the car wash on her way home. It was small, but to her it felt like luxury. But when she returned home that evening, something was wrong. She walked into the compound and froze. The spot where her car always sat was empty. At first, she thought maybe one of the neighbors had parked there, or maybe her father had moved it for some reason. Her chest tightened as she scanned the space again and again. The car was gone. She rushed inside, heart pounding, and asked her parents if they'd seen it. Her mother didn't even look up from the cooking pot. "Oh, that," she said casually, as if talking about a broken chair. "We sold it." Zanil blinked, convinced she had misheard. Her father, sitting on the couch, added without shame, "Your brother needed money for his honeymoon. You'll understand." The words landed like a slap. Themba and his new wife, Nandi, were planning a trip to Zanzibar. A luxury honeymoon, complete with beach resorts and expensive excursions. And her parents had decided the best way to pay for it was by selling the one thing Zanil had worked years to achieve. Her mouth went dry. "You sold my car?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Her mother finally turned, annoyed at the tone. "You're overreacting. You don't have children, you don't have a husband. You'll buy another car later. Right now, Themba needs this. He just got married. Family comes first." Zanil stood there, shaking, unable to believe how calmly they said it, as if her years of sacrifice meant nothing, as if her joy was disposable. Her brother strolled in at that moment, grinning, scrolling through his phone. "Thanks, sis," he said mockingly, not even pretending to hide his smugness. "Nandi's already looking at the spa packages. Zanzibar is going to be lit." He gave a small laugh, like he was sharing an inside joke at her expense. Zanil felt the room spin. She thought of the nights she had stayed late at work to earn overtime, the matatas she had endured, the meals she had skipped just to save a little more. All of it wiped away in a single selfish act. Her parents didn't even meet her eyes, too busy justifying themselves, too dismissive to care about the storm breaking inside her. For the first time, Zanil understood what it meant to be invisible in her own family. They hadn't just sold her car. They had sold her dignity, her independence, her hard work, all for a honeymoon that wasn't hers. Zanil sat at the edge of the couch, her hands trembling, still trying to process what she had just heard. Her car was gone, sold without her permission, and the people who did it were sitting calmly in front of her as if nothing was wrong. Her father leaned back, his tone heavy with authority. "Zanil, you need to understand. You are not married. You don't have children to take care of. You only have yourself. Your brother, on the other hand, just started a family. He has responsibilities now. We all must support him." Her mother chimed in quickly, nodding as if this logic was obvious. "Yes, family comes first. You should be happy we could help Themba. A car is not the end of the world. You can buy another one in the future. Your brother's marriage is more important right now." Zanil stared at them in disbelief. It wasn't just the words. It was the way they were spoken, as though her hard work was small and childish compared to Themba's needs. She had expected shock, or at least guilt, but all she found was a cold wall of dismissal. She tried to argue, her voice shaking. "That was my car. I worked for it. I saved every cent. How could you sell it without even asking me?" Her mother waved her hand, brushing her off like a complaining child. "Don't be dramatic. You're not losing anything important. You're young, you'll recover. Themba is the one who needs us now." Her brother, who had been scrolling on his phone, finally looked up with a grin. "Sis, relax. It's not that deep. You know how much Nandi has been dreaming about Zanzibar? She's already booking activities. Jet skis, sunset dinners, spa days. She deserves it. And honestly, you should be proud you could contribute. He smirked and added, your little car is making big things happen. Zanil's stomach twisted at his arrogance. There was no thank you, no shame, not even a hint of gratitude. Just mockery, as if her sacrifice was nothing more than a joke to him. Her father sighed impatiently. Zanil, you've always been the strong one, the responsible one. That's why we knew you'd understand. Your brother needs this more than you do. We're a family, we help each other. The irony stung so sharply she almost laughed. Family only seemed to come first, when it benefited Themba. When Zanil was the one in need, there was never this urgency, never this unity. She sat there, silent, feeling the weight of every moment in her life where she had been told to step aside for her brother. Now it had reached its ugliest form. Even her independence, the symbol of all her sacrifices, had been taken to fund his comfort. And worst of all, none of them even cared what it was doing to her. Zanil locked herself in her room that night, tears rolling down her face until the pillow was wet. She tried to muffle the sound so no one would hear, though deep down she knew her family wouldn't have cared even if they did. The pain cut deeper than she expected. It wasn't only about the car, it was about years of being overlooked, years of being the one who gave while everyone else took. She thought back to her childhood, how Themba always got the better share of everything. When there was only enough money for one new school uniform, it was bought for him. When there was just enough meat for one plate, it went on his. She had learned to smile and say, "It's okay," while her stomach rumbled. Even later, when she started working, it was her salary that kept the lights on, her savings that bought medicine for her parents, her efforts that patched up the cracks no one else bothered to notice. Yet no one ever said thank you. Now, the one thing she had worked for herself, the one victory that belonged to her alone, had been stolen in broad daylight and handed over to Themba like it was nothing. The memory of his mocking smile and the way her parents dismissed her pain replayed in her mind until her body shook with anger. She sat up, wiping her face roughly with the back of her hand. She refused to beg. She refused to lower herself further, asking for scraps of kindness from people who had already shown her what she meant to them. They wanted her silence, her patience, her forgiveness. But for the first time in her life, Zanil decided they would not get it. As she stared at the ceiling, the tears slowly dried, leaving only a hard, cold resolve. This betrayal was not going to disappear into the pile of other sacrifices she had quietly swallowed over the... No, this one would be different. They thought she was weak because she didn't shout, because she didn't fight, because she always put the family first. But they had mistaken her silence for powerlessness. In that quiet room, her heart hardened. She whispered to herself, almost like a promise, "This will not go unanswered." The anger steadied her, cooling into determination. For once, she would not be the understanding sister, the dutiful daughter, the one who always stepped aside. This time, she would be the storm they never saw coming. The next morning, Zanil woke up with swollen eyes but a sharper mind. She moved through the house quietly, saying little, pretending to have accepted what her parents told her. On the outside she looked calm, but inside, a plan was already forming. If her family thought she would just cry and move on, they were about to learn who she really was. That evening, after work, she called someone she trusted, a friend she hadn't spoken to in months, a lawyer living in Kampala. They had studied together at university, and Zanil remembered how sharp and unshakable she always was. When the call connected, Zanil poured out everything. Her friend listened without interruption, then said firmly, "What they did was illegal. They had no right to sell that car without your consent. If you're ready to fight, I'll guide you." Zanil felt her chest tighten, but this time with relief. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't overreacting. What happened to her was wrong, and now she had a way to strike back. The following days, she began collecting everything. She dug out the receipts from the car purchase, the transfer papers, the insurance documents, even the service receipts she had saved neatly in a folder. Each piece of paper was proof, each one a brick in the case she was building. She made copies, scanned them, and sent them securely to her lawyer friend. At home, she stayed silent. Her parents thought her quietness meant she had accepted their decision. Themba laughed louder than ever, bragging about the fancy beachfront villa he and Nandi had booked. Zanil just nodded, biting her tongue, letting them believe they had broken her spirit. But late at night, when the house was dark, she sat at her desk writing figures on a sheet of paper. Not just the value of the car, but the cost of damages, penalties, and emotional distress. The numbers grew higher than anything her family expected. She wasn't just asking for the car's worth, she was sending a message. Her lawyer friend told her, "Don't hold back. They used you like a doormat. It's time they learn you're not one." Those words lit something in Zanil's heart. She was no longer the invisible daughter who sacrificed in silence. She was about to become their biggest problem. When she finally folded the papers and tucked them into a large envelope, she felt lighter. The plan was no longer just in her head. It was real, alive, and waiting for the right moment. Her family thought they had taken everything from her, but what they didn't know was that Zanil was about to send them a bill they would never forget. Themba and Nandi's honeymoon became the talk of the family WhatsApp group. Every morning, new photos appeared. Smiling selfies with the ocean behind them, candlelit dinners on the sand, Nandi in flowing dresses posing with cocktails. There were pictures of jet skis cutting across the turquoise water, of Themba lounging by a pool with sunglasses on, and even a short video of the two of them dancing barefoot at some fancy beach party. The captions were just as loud as the photos. Living the dream. My queen deserves the best. Zanzibar forever. Relatives dropped heart emojis, clapping hands, and endless messages of congratulations. What a lucky couple. God bless your marriage. This is how newlyweds should start their life. Back at home, Zanil scrolled through the updates with a blank face. Her parents couldn't stop bragging. Her mother showed the photos to neighbors, smiling proudly as if she had personally sent them on the trip. Her father boasted, "That's my son, taking care of his wife like a real man." The irony burned inside Zanil. None of them mentioned the car. None of them acknowledged the theft that had made this little paradise possible. To everyone else, Themba's life looked perfect. To Zanil, every image was another reminder of what she had lost, another slap in the face. But she didn't cry this time. She didn't argue. She simply watched, quiet and cold, while her family drowned in their celebration. At night, when the house was silent, she returned to her growing file of papers. She double-checked receipts, organized her documents, and practiced her calm expression in the mirror. She knew her moment was coming. They thought she was weak because she wasn't shouting, because she wasn't bitter in public. They thought she had accepted her place in the shadows. But behind that stillness, Zanil was sharpening her weapon. Every photo of Themba and Nandi on their honeymoon only fueled her determination. Every laugh, every brag, every careless post was a reminder of why she couldn't stay silent this time. Her family was busy basking in Themba's glow, blinded by the illusion of his perfect life. Zanil let them enjoy it. She let them dance and boast and celebrate. Because when she finally made her move, the fall would be harder, louder, and unforgettable. They thought they had taken everything from her. They had no idea she was about to take it all back, with interest. The family dinner was supposed to be a celebration. Themba and Nandi had just returned from Zanzibar, their skin glowing from the sun, their phones overflowing with photos they couldn't wait to show everyone. The house buzzed with excitement. Zanil's mother cooked a big meal. Her father poured drinks and laughter filled the living room. Zanil arrived later than usual, carrying a large brown envelope under her arm. She greeted everyone politely, but without her usual warmth. Nobody seemed to notice. They were too busy asking Nandi about the resort food and teasing Themba about the photos of him trying to paddleboard. When the plates were cleared and the room settled, Zanil placed the envelope in the middle of the table. "I have something for all of you," she said quietly. Her calmness made everyone pause. Themba smirked, already assuming it was some kind of gift or apology. Her father opened the envelope and began to pull out the stack of papers. The mood shifted instantly. The documents were stamped, official, and full of legal language. At the top, bold letters demanded repayment for the unlawful sale of Zanil's car. The amount listed wasn't just the value of the car. It included damages, penalties, and legal fees. The figure was shocking, far more than her family had imagined. "What is this nonsense?" her father scoffed, flipping through the pages. Her mother let out a nervous laugh, shaking her head. "Zanil, you can't be serious. Taking your own family to court? Stop joking." But Zanil didn't smile. Her voice was steady, almost too calm. "I warned you. You took what belonged to me without permission. That's theft, and now you will pay it back, with interest." Themba leaned back in his chair, grinning as if it was all a performance. "Come on, sis. A lawyer? Really? Over one small car? You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare." Zanil met his eyes, unflinching. "Try me." The room went quiet. For the first time, her family saw something in her they had never noticed before. Steel in her spine, fire in her eye. They tried to brush it off, laughing awkwardly, insisting it was just paperwork, nothing serious. Her father muttered about family shame. Her mother whispered about forgiveness. But Zanil stayed silent. She had delivered the envelope. That was all she needed to do. Themba finally tossed the papers back onto the table, dismissing them with a chuckle. "This is just a game. You'll get over it. You always do." Zanil picked up her bag, stood, and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back and said, "No, not this time." And with that, she left them staring at the envelope, still laughing nervously, completely unaware that the storm she had set in motion was already too big to stop. A week later, the laughter in Zanil's parents' house had faded. They had brushed off the thick envelope of legal papers, tossing it into a drawer as if ignoring it would make it disappear. But trouble has a way of showing up when you least expect it. That Saturday morning, while the neighborhood was alive with children playing and women sweeping their front yards, a black car pulled up outside the gate. Out stepped a lawyer in a crisp suit, holding a folder, followed by two uniformed repossession officers. They walked straight to the door with purpose, no hesitation. Within minutes, the knocking began, loud, official, impossible to ignore. When her father opened the door, his face drained of color. The lawyer introduced herself politely but firmly and handed over the court order. By law, she explained, you are required to pay the full amount stated. Since payment has not been made, we are authorized to begin seizing assets to cover the debt. Neighbors gathered quickly, pretending to sweep slower or water their plants longer, all curious about the commotion. Whispers spread fast. What's happening? Court orders. Repossession. Within minutes, everyone knew. The respected family had been dragged into legal shame. The officers began their work. They marked off furniture, electronics, and even the family television. The car parked in the driveway, Themba's pride, was checked and logged as well. Zaniel's mother pleaded, her voice breaking. Please, this is a misunderstanding. We're family, we can settle it quietly. But the officers were unmoved. The law was the law. Themba stormed in, still half asleep, demanding answers. When he saw his father signing papers under the lawyer's watchful eye, his face turned red. This is insane. Over a stupid car, he shouted. The lawyer didn't flinch. This is not about a car. This is about theft and damages. The court takes it seriously, even if you don't. Nandi, his new wife, stood frozen in the doorway. The glamour of Zanzibar still clung to her Instagram feed, but reality was hitting harder than the waves on the beach. She watched as the very household she had married into became the center of gossip, their possessions tagged with stickers for repossession. Her dream life was crumbling before her eyes, and the shame was unbearable. She muttered, almost to herself, "This isn't what I signed up for." Meanwhile, the neighbors whispered louder. Some shook their heads in pity, others smirked, enjoying the spectacle. "Imagine selling your daughter's car for a honeymoon," one woman murmured to another. "Now see how it ends." Inside, the family begged, cursed, and panicked. But it was too late. Zaniel's bluff had turned into a public humiliation none of them could escape. Somewhere far away, Zaniel sat quietly, her phone buzzing with messages she chose not to answer. She didn't need to be there. The damage was already done. The family that had dismissed her was now paying her bill, in the most public way possible. The days after the repossession were heavy with shame. The once proud house was quiet, no more boasting, no more loud laughter. The neighbors' whispers still lingered like smoke in the air, and the family could feel eyes watching them every time they stepped outside. For the first time, Themba and his parents felt the weight of being judged, the same way Zaniel had felt invisible and dismissed all those years. It didn't take long before they came knocking at her door. Her mother was the first, her voice trembling as she begged. "Zaniel, please, my child, you've made your point. Everyone is talking about us. Withdraw the case, let's solve this as a family." Her eyes searched Zaniel's face for softness, but Zaniel remained calm, her arms folded. Her father followed, less proud than before. His tone, once commanding, was now weary. "We raised you better than this. Court cases, lawyers, this is not the way. End this before it destroys the family." Zaniel listened quietly, then spoke with the same steady voice she had used at the dinner table. "You told me family comes first. That's what you said when you took what was mine. Now I'm making sure family comes first, by holding you accountable." Her words landed like stones. The parents who had always dismissed her finally had no clever reply. Later that evening, Themba showed up. He looked nothing like the smug brother who once laughed in her face. His shoulders slumped, his voice cracked with desperation. "Z, please. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought you'd get over it, like always. I was stupid." Zaniel studied him for a long moment. This was the same brother who had mocked her, the same man who had boasted about spa days in Zanzibar while she sat empty-handed. Now he couldn't even look her in the eye. "You didn't just take my car, Themba," she said softly, "but you took years of my sacrifices. You laughed at my pain, and you thought there would never be consequences. That arrogance is why you're here now." For once, he didn't argue. His eyes dropped to the floor, shame washing over him. "I'll do anything," he muttered. "Just please stop this. Nandi is furious. She says she never signed up for this kind of life." Zaniel almost pitied him, but she held her ground. This wasn't about pity, it was about justice. The tables had turned completely. The brother who once mocked her was begging. The parents who once ignored her were pleading. And Zaniel, the quiet one, the overlooked one, finally had the power. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't gloat. She simply stood tall and let them feel the weight of what they had done. For the first time, they were the ones forced to understand. The day Zaniel picked up her new car, the air felt lighter around her. The case had gone through, the damages awarded, and for the first time in her life she was not walking away with less, she was walking away with more. The car wasn't just a replacement. It was better, newer, a quiet symbol that her pain had been turned into victory. She ran her fingers along the smooth paint, unlocked the door, and sat inside with a smile that came from deep within. These keys were more than metal in her hand. They were proof she had taken back her dignity. Life had shifted. Themba and Nandi's perfect dream had cracked. With debts hanging over them and the shame of what happened, they moved into a smaller, modest home. The fancy restaurants and Instagram holidays disappeared. Their glow had dimmed. Neighbors who once praised Themba now shook their heads, whispering about how quickly life can change. Zanil, on the other hand, rebuilt quietly. She no longer felt invisible. She had her independence back, stronger than before, and she carried herself with a calm that no one could ignore. One afternoon, as she drove through the streets of Nairobi in her new car, she passed by Themba and Nandi walking. They looked tired, weighed down by reality. She didn't slow down. She didn't roll down her window. She just drove past, free and unbothered, the wind brushing against her face. In her heart, she repeated the line that summed it all up. They sold my car for a honeymoon. I sent them the real bill, and they paid it all,